Kamen Rider Black Sun is basically the equivalent of getting the wrong haircut. So I went to the hairdressers the other day and I showed the hairdresser a picture of how I wanted my hair to look. I said, you know, short on the sides and a bit of length through the top. Here's a photo, okay? What happened was she nodded and she you know, she's cutting and she's like, yep, sounds good, blah, blah, blah. And then boom, short, exactly how I normally have it, right? So I left the hairdressers because I wanted some length through the top. You know, you've seen my last video, it was pretty curly. Anyway, super annoyed, pretended like I liked the haircut. And I was driving home and I was seething. I was like, oh my God, like literally explained and showed a picture of what I wanted and I didn't get what I wanted, okay? Even though the ingredients are there, you've said what you wanted, you know, blah, blah, blah. Kamen Rider Black Sun is a wrong haircut. Okay, so just for the record, I actually don't mind my hair now. I think it looks fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not what I asked for. And, you know, sometimes we don't always get what we ask for. And I feel like Kamen Rider Black Sun is that show that we didn't ask for, but it was reasonably good. Okay, let me explain. So, Kamen Rider Black Sun is a sort of a retelling or reimagining of the original 1987 Kamen Rider Black from back in the day, 1987. They've taken the same elements, similar story beats, and kind of not really flipped it on its head, but they've just gone in a different direction with it. So, for instance, this show follows two Kamen Riders, Black Sun, who's the main character. Then you've got Shadow Moon, who is his basically his brother, and they are basically, okay, this is going to have mild spoilers, so maybe I'll just spoil the whole thing just so I can kind of get across some points. Okay, so you've got the two, Black Sun, Shadow Moon. They are both, candidates for becoming the Creation King. Okay, so he's the guy that is he's the top of the Kaijins, and he's quite a big deal because the Creation King secretes a liquid called Heaven that when the Kaijins drink it, they basically live forever. So the Creation King's dying. This organization needs one of the brothers to become the Creation King. Problem is, one of them doesn't want anything to do with the organization, and the other one was held captive for a while. So the show, basically, it's in the modern day, and it flashes back to, I think it's the 70s, 60s or 70s, showing this political organization and Shadow Moon and Black Sun when they were younger, and them fighting for basically civil rights for Kaijins. So Kaijins are basically humans that can turn into monsters, and they're shunned in Japanese society. No one likes them. Well, people do like them, but there's like basically it's a metaphor for racism, not so subtly you know, incorporated into the show, but that's basically what it is. Okay. So the show is basically sort of like a political drama with like tokusatsu elements, like you know, your Kamen Rider, you know, your fight scenes and stuff. And that's all very well and good. My issue with the show is that it's not Kamen Rider enough. Again, like getting the haircut you didn't ask for, but that's still pretty good. I feel like the show is not a bad show, but it's not what I wanted with those elements. So, you know, there's barely any fight scenes, which is kind of what you watch Kamen Rider for. At least that's a big part of why I watch it. There's very few fight scenes. When they are there, they're very short. You know, Shadow Moon will come in and rip someone in half or bite their throat out, and it's literally a matter of seconds. Black Sun has a few cool fight scenes, but they're very short. There's a really good one right at the end, although it's such a dark fight scene as far as like tonally, it's very dark. It's cool, but it's so like, you're like, oh, you know where it's headed, so it's not enjoyable to watch in a way. You know what I mean? Kind of very Kamen Rider Amazon-esque with Alpha and Omega. You're like, oh god, here we go. I know where this is going, and I'm not really looking forward to it. Okay, so very few fight scenes, so that's a big negative for me. The ones that are there are fine, but they're very short. I think the show's about 10 episodes, and
don't worry.
Okay, so there's a character that's introduced very early on. She's sort of like, not the main character, but she's kind of a dual main character with Black Sun. I can't remember her name, unfortunately, but she's very pro Kaijin rights. Her friend is a Kaijin, and so she's trying to get equal rights for them through the UN and stuff like that. Eventually she gets turned into one. She's also a protector of one of the King Stones. There's 2 little stones. She's got both of them. They're needed to form together so that the, Black Sun or Shadow Moon can become the Creation King. So the organization that has the Creation King locked away, where they drink the heaven to live forever, which turns out it's, I think it was human flesh liquefied, something like that. That organization wants her because they want the King Stones, and so Black Sun is trying to protect her. He doesn't want a part of it, and then Shadow Moon kind of wants. At a point in the show, he decides that actually Kaijin should rule, and he joins that organization, which he used to join back in the day. So that's where the political element comes in. So you've got the 2 main characters, and they used to be part of this organization which was trying to help Kaijin rights. Now the problem was, they ended up, this is where I guess the main interest of the show comes in, is seeing how this political organization that started out with good intentions then becomes the villain, which on paper is actually pretty interesting. Like, you know, what do they say? The road to hell is paved with good intentions, and this show kind of goes through the process of what happens when you have good intentions and they get led astray. However, again, I don't really want this in my Kamen Rider show for what I'm interested in, and maybe some people will really enjoy it, but it wasn't a strong enough sort of element to the show that I didn't really enjoy it that much. But it was an interesting, like a very interesting take on that storyline. But again, it felt like a political drama with Kamen Rider elements and monster elements, not necessarily a Kamen Rider show with political elements. And that's where my problem with the show came from. So I found it a bit of a hard watch, I'll be honest with you. I probably got about four. It took a while to finish. I probably got about 4 episodes in, and I was like, oh, this is a bit of a struggle. I got through it, and I don't regret watching it. Like, I'd probably maybe recommend it if you're not really a Kamen Rider fan, but then I'm like, why are you watching this video if you're not a Kamen Rider fan? I'd probably just go and watch the original show, to be honest. In saying that, there was some really good acting. Like, there was some pretty heavy themes, especially when one of the Kaijins gets beaten to death and hung. That was actually pretty. I was like, whoa, okay, they've gone there. That's pretty full on. I'm not going to spoil who it was, but it was pretty intense. Yeah, it's just very hard to recommend, really, when it comes down to it. The acting is fine. Again, like I said, you've got the young girl, she's great. The main character, Shadow Moon and Black Sun, are really good. There's this thing where when they take the heaven, they don't age. So Shadow Moon looks young, like he was in the 70s. Black Sun looks older. I think he's in his... He looks to be somewhere in his 50s, but he's in good shape, you know. But so it flashes back to a younger version of him. Anyway, but the character of Black Sun is relatively likable, but he doesn't. There's not a lot of really great scenes with him in. He's very staunch and stoic. He doesn't say a lot, and yeah. Oh, and saying that his suit looks awesome. The suit, the character's suits look amazing. I love Black Sun's costume. I think it looks perfect. It's one of the things with Amazons, which was kind of a little bit of a, I don't know what you'd call it, sort of like a visual dissonance or something, was the fact that their suits looked very tokusatsu, very Kamen Rider looking, very toyetic, yet they're supposed to be these serious like monsters, like they're transforming as like, you know, insect men, but it looks clearly like plasticky armor, whereas this does look more like insect, you know, exoskeleton. There's this one cool bit where what's his name, Black Sun's fighting someone, and he's got these, because he's based on a grasshopper, and he's got grasshopper arms around his shoulders, which looks really cool, but he rips one out to use as a sword, and the wound just bleeds, which is just a really dark and cool kind of visual element. Then there's a bit later on where two characters are fighting and they rip out their arms, and there's just the blood, but they've got the two swords, and it's pretty gnarly, like it's pretty full on. Actually really cool idea, but again, just very dark. And I know if you've watched the Kamen Rider Amazons video I did the other week, you'll be like, oh god, here he goes again with these dark shows. But I mean, hey, it's new. I watched it and I'm just telling you what I think. Yeah, honestly, very hard to recommend. Don't know if I could say that I really enjoyed watching it, to be honest. I found it a bit of a slog, to be fair, a bit of a slog. The music was really good. The costume design, fantastic. Like the cinematography, like it's a nice looking show. Like it looks like it cost a bit of money, all things considered. But again, just a bit boring. And the Gorgon, the political party, that whole plot line was kind of interesting, but it was just not what I wanted to see. I really didn't like, certain characters die and I was just like, I don't actually care too much. I'm not really that invested in any of the characters. There was one character called Bilgenia, and he was kind of cool, but his costume looks so stupid. Like he's like this beetle costume, like Kabuto or whatever, but you can see his face and it just looked dumb. I was like, he had some cool fight scenes, but I couldn't get over this little face peeking out of his black armor. It just looked so odd. There was a few other costumes where I was like, that's kind of weird. Like there was a bat creature, and whenever they transformed, they had like the skin of their human face kind of hanging around their neck. And I was like, that's kind of cool, but the bat looks so dumb that it kind of wrecked that imagery. Just looked kind of strange. But yeah, on the whole, I would say, yeah, don't go into this expecting Kamen Rider, go into it expecting a political drama with Kamen Rider elements. And on that note, this video's over. I've got some more videos coming out soon. Sorry that one might not have been that exciting for people who really like Black Sun or the original Kamen Rider Black Sun. But I thought I'd do the video and you know, comment below, tell me what you guys think, because I'm actually really curious. I went on Reddit and people seemed relatively like they enjoyed it, but yeah, it wasn't, people weren't raving over it. I haven't seen much online, people, you know, talking it up too much, but comment below and tell me what you think. So I'm actually genuinely curious if you guys liked it or not. And also give this channel a like and a subscribe, because you know, it helps, and I'm looking forward to doing more of these videos. So thanks for tuning into the monotone sessions, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers. The juice is alright, shiny sunset.